XL Prime League.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Coda for the winner's best of 3. The winner of this best of 3, of course, advances out of Group A into the round of 16 in first place. Which one of these two players will it be? Perhaps it's the green Zerg in the bottom right-hand corner. This is Dignitas Tefel.
And his opponent up in the top left-hand corner is our red Terran player from CM Storm, Polt.
12 racks, 12 gas versus a 14 pool. This is pretty much as standard as it gets. I guess maybe 15 pool is like quote-unquote more standard. I don't even know. Like, I feel like that doesn't even matter.
Yeah, 15 pools. Well, I guess it depends. If you're going pool 4 hatch, I feel like you go 14 pool, like 15 hatch, generally. But I'd say on Coda like 15 hatch, 14 pool, or if you're trying to stretch it a little bit, 15 hatch, 15 pool is more normal. But Polt does like his Reapers, so I would play it fairly safe if I was in Tefel shoes. So.
And coming into this match, this best of 3, Tefel, maybe he didn't want to play Polt. Maybe he didn't want his round of 16 chances decided by, whether or not he gets served someone like Polt in the round of 32 of Season 5 Prime League. But he has to face Polt, and in this match, I can't help but feeling no one would necessarily expect Tefel to be the one coming out ahead. The weight is kind of on Polt to live up to expectations, and I think most people, if they're watching this, would probably be, siding more on Polt's side. So I don't know if that's, like, crushing or if that's freeing for Tefel to know, like, it doesn't even matter. If I'm the underdog, then I don't necessarily have to come through with flying colors.
Yeah, I guess it depends on your attitude a little bit. Some people find it really refreshing being against people who would be considered higher skilled opponents or favored opponents. They just go, well, you know what, everyone's thinking, oh, this guy's going to get wrecked. So even if I just put up a good fight, everyone's looking at me going, oh, that's pretty cool. So yeah, let's just see what happens. But obviously other people don't do that so much, and they're just like, oh dear, it's so bad, and sort of defeat themselves in their own head before anything even happens. But right now, Polt, 3 CCs, nice and quick, is going to be boosting himself ahead in his econ. Tefel's third hatch goes down as well, but yeah, I still feel like Polt's got slightly the better end of this opener. We'll see whether Tefel makes any movements towards punching it later. His gas is going down quite late, so it's possible it's a roach opener. That could end up being very powerful.
We'll have to see exactly what Polt decides to go for as he develops his build a little bit more here. Some players do like to go in this situation, CC on the low ground and then use their third CC to be a part of their natural ramp. In this case, Polt really playing it safe, turning his CC into an orbital before flying it down, and of course the third CC on the high ground as well. Roach Warren on the way. Mr. Trigonal, you may have something inside of that skull of yours.
Well, yeah, I usually keep my waste paper there, but
okay,
I guess
that's fair.
I guess I was scratching down some build order notes on it before I threw it away. But yeah, they Lair coming in as well from Tefel. And we'll see where he goes with this. No Evo chambers or anything makes me think he's not really committing too much to roaches, or if he is, it's a really big all-in, but we'll see. 5 roaches. If there's any more, I think he has to do something with them. 5 roaches is like the max you'll make for just defensive, safe roaches. But it looks like he's going into droning now, so that's exactly what he's doing, I think. Just, playing it fairly safe. But Polt moving in with those Hellions, gets all the way up into the main base. 2 roaches come up to greet him, though, so that's going to take a lot of the sting out of this little Hellion run by immediately.
right off the bat.
Nice.
Pretty much everything cleaned up very nicely. 2 drones lost. Yes, there was lost mining time, but when you've got Polt Hellions in your main base and you pretty much just lose mining time, that probably comes off as all right inside of Tefel's book. He's probably just fine with that. There's going to be that Evo chamber that you were referencing, a second one going to be getting dropped down as well. He did just commit to those 5 roaches. Now it's back into drones, even going to be getting himself a spore crawler just for that defense. He's going to be rounding out a couple more gases as well. On the other side of the map, Polt starting to get those upgrades rolling. He added on racks 2 and 3 a little while ago. Of course, it was quite a ways after his 3rd CC, but when you're going fast 3rd CC like this, for Polt, racks 2 and 3, of course, going to be late. Adding on racks 4 and 5 just now. He's going to start to get that production into high gear, and of course, be looking towards the mid-game.
Yes, indeed. And Tefel could try and do a roach time against this, but I feel like he's almost left it a little bit too late. He could still try something, though. There's the later timings, or kind of the Roach King push that have fallen out of favor a little. Can still see quite a lot of success, particularly at just pushing away the 3rd base. And we'll see what Tefel builds after this next round of Overlords finish up. He is on 3-way saturation, so we are going to see some kind of units anyway. And with no movement towards the 3rd base, I think that is what he's going to do. Just pump out tons and tons of roaches and try and attack with +1/+1 and roach speed. The Hydra then coming in, providing a possibility of a transition. And what does Polt have to answer this? His army isn't huge. Tefel moving towards double army supply. And yeah, if Polt actually moves out too far on the map, this could turn out pretty badly for him.
And this is one of those situations where we expect a guy like Polt to do exactly the sort of stuff that he's doing now. Maybe he's down almost literally half the army supply of his opponent, but we expect him to do things like multi-prong harass, dropping in different locations, pulling armies out of positions only to be kind of a sort of bait and switch. We expect him to do those sorts of things. So while he is down on that army supply, we have to keep in mind who is controlling that army. 12 Hydras on the way. And of course, Tefel would love to hold off on any big engagements until he starts to get some of those upgrades rolling on in. And of course, mostly grooved spines.
Yeah, grooved spines, Hydra range, absolutely vital. Range, one of the most important attributes in the game. And oh look, little engagement over here. Polt is going to have to back on off as this Roach Hydra force moves down. Interestingly enough, Tefel actually hasn't started 2-2 yet, which makes me think he really has a lot invested in this attack, because Roach Hydra Viper is so dependent on its upgrades really to deal damage and its upgrade advantage, so he really wants to push this 3rd base off of its location, and I think he's going to be able to do it. There's 4 Widow Mines that Polt really needs to get almost perfect connections to actually be able to take this fight, and as it is, I think Tefel's a little too good to let them do that.
It's going to be an awkward engagement if those Widow Mines don't get some nice hits. The splash damage thus far is pretty good. No friendly fire, no pushing forward from Tefel, and of course these medevacs allowing these Marines and Marauders to stay alive so much longer than they otherwise would have. But again, that dwarfing army supply in a straight-up engagement being so beneficial for Tefel. Polt just doesn't have much on the front lines here to deal with this impending attack. And of course, with no 4th base on the docket just yet, just more Roaches and Hydras, Tefel is looking to end this pretty much right here, right now.
Yeah, he is, and he is successfully doing that. GG. With a big old Roach Hydra push, Dignitas Tefel is going to take down the WCS Season 1 champion, Polt. I hope you still remember us, because if you don't, it's a little worrying. We only went away a couple of seconds ago, but up here in the top left, it's our green Zo player, representing Dignitas. It is Tefel.
And in the bottom right-hand corner, the man that we expect to crush through, but he's having some trouble, our red Terran player, CM Storm Polt. Similar openings for both players. Again, no proxy 2 racks heading out from Polt. Not really something that we expect to see from a guy like Polt. No hatchery first, no particularly early pool from Tefel.
Yeah, I mean, he has gone hatch before pool again. Sorry, pool before hatch even. Whereas hatch before pool is generally more typical. But I have actually noticed it's a trend with quite a few Roach Hydra players. Because there's a lot of Roach Hydra players I know in the UK scene. Far more than I think is represented on the global meta of StarCraft. So it is interesting how that kind of lends itself into it, and I'm not exactly sure how, but I guess you just open up a little more safely, and then once you get your roaches out, then you're fine. You're just so safe, but I can't help but think it could just cut into your economy a bit. We'll see.
So should the tagline for your country be changed to like, the UK, more Roach Hydra players per capita than anyone else?
I would not complain about that, but I have a feeling like most people would just go, huh?
Sounds like the sort of thing that an entire country should adopt.
Yeah. Unfortunately, I don't think the UK StarCraft scene is quite strong enough for that just yet. Maybe one day.
Probably not. First, a Reaper going to be jumping on in for Polt. Going to be looking to, of course, just do that little bit of annoying damage. Ooh, gets himself a drone, and he escapes. Very nice. Yeah, pretty good there indeed. Polt's Reaper control always top tier, and he's going to dance in again. Queen interrupts the region, though, and doesn't quite manage to get the last couple of hits to take it on out, but still, Polt's getting a nice little early win, taking out that drone, and with the Reaper surviving as well. And as the factory finishes up, he's going to load it up with a reactor and start pumping out some Hellions as the command center too. And I think that starport's going to be for a Banshee. Yeah, second gas coming down, most likely a Banshee. We'll see a tech lab on that barracks coming down now. Very well. We'll have to see if Polt is able to really do anything with that Banshee, because you'd think, you know, given the last game's performance, one of these players would do something drastically differently, and up to now, they haven't. But that Banshee could certainly be a wrench in the works of Tefel. Almost getting that third base drone kill would have been a bit of a mishap for Tefel as well. Certainly, this Reaper being more annoying than it normally is. Banshee is on the way, and of course, there's no cloak. The Roach Warren is also on the way, and then we have that dance, which is sort of like the Roach Muta dance. But in this particular case, it's like, alright, Roaches can't shoot up, but does the Banshee necessarily have enough DPS if the Zerg player commits to a lot of Roaches?
Yeah, not too much. Although, they do provide some kind of combat potential, because they will eventually clean up all the Roaches. Whereas something that might kill them a little faster, like, or, I don't know, something that might tank them a little more, like Marauders or stuff, can also be killed by just overwhelming numbers of Roaches, so it all depends a little. For now, though, Tefel really wants to be looking towards securing that third base. It looks like he's actually just going to take it at a slightly suboptimal location because of Polt's Reaper. So Polt has definitely been very annoying with these Reapers. If Polt pokes forwards and attacks the Evolution Chamber or something like once more, he'll actually take out a Creep Tumor as well. But obviously he doesn't know that, so he's going to have to back off.
Polt adding on his third and fourth gas. As you did mention, he added on gas number 2 a bit earlier. This Banshee has stopped on its detour, but it's going to be joined eventually by another Banshee friend. And of course, they will together have their invisibility cloaks to hide them from the Queens, which are currently encroaching in. Hellions going to be sneaking on by. Life's Lings find a way, but Polt's Hellions must have gone to the same school of running by things.
The school of running by things.
It's very official.
Yeah. School I'd go to. But, I don't think that score is going to finish, but it's going to tank a couple shots from that. Oh, man. Okay. The micro. The micro is pretty real right now. Okay, never mind. Never mind. I had to say it, didn't I? But I don't know how this third base is actually going to survive. This is not a good start for Tefel at all. And those Banshees finding great little angle, but getting pushed away by the Queen. I kind of have a feel they could maybe try and stay and do a bit of damage, but this game, Tefel has started his attack upgrade, or melee attack upgrades, so it looks like he's not going to be giving us a repeat performance of last game, this time angling more towards the standard Lingbane Muta style.
Going to be picking himself up a couple of extra drone kills. 5 additional drones have gone down, bringing the total up to 16 drone kills. Trading that out for 4 Hellions. Certainly a nice bit of, nice first 10 minutes, if you want to call it that, for Polt. Certainly a bit of a stark contrast to game number 1. Some distinct differences. Denying that third base, forcing Tefel to take the third base in the awkward location. And then it's just been constant harass. People didn't like this kind of open back mineral patches on Foxtrot. People still don't like it now for pretty much this exact reason.
Yeah, it's a little tough to deal with, but it looks like Tefel's pulling out a bunch of lings. I don't know whether this is just for safety or whether he's actually planning to do any kind of aggression with this. I think it is just safety lings, but we'll see what happens with his next round of lava pop. But for now, Polt actually has a bunch of tanks. I think he was a little afraid of the Roach, maybe the Roach Bane attack from Tefel, but proved not to be forthcoming. And now Tefel has actually got that third base, but because of the position it's in, Polt's tanks are actually going to be really, really useful in just completely shutting it down. So that is not good news for Polish Zerkler.
Going to be knocking down the rocks as well, just to make this attack over the minerals that you were just referencing that much more potent. At the same time, Tefel thinks he's got a pretty good idea of the third base of Polt. In fact, he scouted the quote-unquote normal third of where Polt would have been, and he's like, oh, there's no third. In actuality, Tefel probably doesn't quite... he might actually think this attack is a bit more intense than it's going to be, but certainly with these rocks, it could definitely be dangerous. But Polt does have a mining third, and Tefel doesn't quite know that. Baneling's going to be coming in. Some massive tank shots, eliminating so many Banelings. And now the setup step backwards is good enough for a cost-effective engagement. But now both of the tanks are down, and they've lost that anchor. They traded it out for the third base, and for Polt, that's okay.
Yeah, very, very nice engagement there, Polt. And he's going to clean that up completely. GG. Game 2 goes the way of Polt, tying it up 1-1 and taking us on to the third map in this series.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to game number 3 of our winners match. We're approximately halfway done with the StarCraft action of Group A for ASL Prime League Season 5, of course brought to you by Ding It. Now we are going to be in the top right-hand corner of Cactus Valley, and of course you're going to be noticing those wonderful cross spawns. We do have, representing Dignitas, the green Zerg player, this is Tefel.
And his opponent down in the bottom left, representing CM Storm, the Teal Terran Titan, it is Polt.
Very nice alliteration.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, Polt looks to be opening with his very much common Reaper opening. And I mean,
player map.
Yeah, pretty normal.
Not innovation.
True, but I mean, he doesn't have to be with Reaper control like his. Cross positions works out pretty well for Tefel as well, I think. Like, it's not cross positioning on Cactus Valley isn't like the great. It's not like super Zerg favored, but it does mean that the Terran player, if they want to go for a direct attack, has to actually go through this big wide open area in the middle of the map, which can be pretty nice with a Zerg player. Whereas if they're in any other spawn position than cross, the Terran player can just kind of hug the slightly more avenue-filled outer edges of the map. and almost always take some kind of forward base and pressure the Zerg forth as well. So Tefel, I imagine, will be pretty happy when he finds this out.
Now the question kind of for me is, are we going to see something similar to game number 1, where Polt, feeling safe on a 3-player map, decides to go very greedy, go economic, and play for that ultra-fast 3rd CC, and not really focus on unit production? And then, you know, we see a big Roach Hydra attack. That could be how this plays out. And of course, the SCV scout along the south side of the map will allow Polt just to get that extra bit of information. So it's going to be very key for Polt to know exactly what Tefel is up to.
Yeah, absolutely. And he will find out eventually when the Reaper arrives, but it takes a little while. But Polt, he doesn't seem overly concerned right now with what Tefel is up to, and he's going to be getting that factory out on the reactor and the command center out as well. So, I mean, this is probably how it opened, basically, in against almost anything that's coming out of Tefel that hadn't already hit yet, really. And the Reaper getting in now. Sees that speed on the spawning pool. A little bit more of a tell. Well, the gas already taken and the speed in the spawning pool, much more of a tell towards Lingbane Muta than the Roach Hydra that Tefel managed to sneak a win with in game 1. But this is what it all comes down to. This is the winner's match of Group A. So whoever wins this advances onto the round of 16, one step further in ASL Prime League. And all Tefel has to do is win this one map against Polt.
One single map. It sounds easy enough, and, well, he's already proved to himself that he can take at least one map off of Polt. Drone heading down to the 3rd, and it looks like Polt doesn't quite catch an eye on it. So Tefel will finally be able to take his 3rd at a reasonable time. Definitely not the fastest 3rd possible, but certainly a respectable 3rd timing, and not quite the awkward 3rd like last game.
Yeah, a little bit. And Polt moving out with the first 2 Hellions. Usually you see players wait 4, but he's going to bring those first 2 out. So get a bit more scouting, but just have the read for that. Looks like, he's going to see these 2 Evo chambers going down. And the 2 Hellions do help out a little against these Lings. But yeah, they force them away from the Reaper at least, as the next 2 come in. And that's where it starts becoming much more of a formidable force, able to actually really deal with the Lings much more effectively. Even a couple drones if they find their way in. But on this map, pretty unlikely.
Hellions poking and prodding, they're doing their dance with the queens that you normally see, and just going to be running on back to the middle of the map. No real damage done, no real damage taken. Of course, he kind of took a look over at that 3rd. He did a little bit of damage there, but he didn't necessarily get all of the intel that he wants. He's going to be trying to get that intel just now, moving in with his Reaper. Sees the layer morphing, going to be heading on over to the natural as well, trying to juke all over the place with that Reaper.
Lose control of it for just a second and it will die off, but not the biggest of deals at the minute. And Burrow actually coming in for Tefel. This is a little interesting. Could get some fun done with this.
Certainly, Burrow is one of those things that we see. Sometimes it just, like, I think Scorpion who got it in one of the games versus Tefel where it just didn't do anything.
Yeah.
And then there are the other games that are super hype, and you're like, the Burrow play is amazing. So
yeah, I think we're going to see some Burrow bailing traps, but that's a little while in the future. For now, it's just under research. Tefel takes that 3rd base, and is that drone moving towards a 4th? Yeah, this is a slightly interesting choice of 4th base. I would have thought he'd go for the one down a lot closer to his own base, but I guess the Hellions are blocking that. Maybe he wants to take this a little bit more hidden. Maybe he just feels more comfortable with that base, but it is very far away. Either way, we'll see a few Lings running in towards the 3rd base. Polt should be able to find themselves in SCV or 2, but actually Polt is very fast at evacuating them, and so they only confirm the 3rd and get a tiny bit of damage done on it before they have to run off again.
The Spire now on the way, but of course Widow Mines also being constructed. And of course on a map like Cactus Valley where there's so many angles to come from, there's so many angles to worry about, you know, it's hard to try to keep track of all the places that Widow Mines could be, and all of the kind of devious things, the sneaky places where Terran players can hide Widow Mines to be kind of blocked by buildings or whatever, so certainly Tefel is going to have to be on top of his control. We saw... Actually, no, never mind. I was thinking of Scorpion, who was the one who had some close calls with mutas and splash damage, but...
Oh, yeah.
Now it's going to be
So,
Tefel,
no.
who needs to be very careful.
Absolutely, and his mutas are going to be heading on out just about now. Yeah, just the one for the start with. I guess I'll add on some more later on, but as his fourth base gets saturated up, Polt is looking for that fourth base, but he sees it's not there, because this is the location Tefel would be expected to take it in. So Polt's been led on a little bit of a wild goose chase down there. We'll see whether he can do about that. He might just actually return home and go, oh dear, this is on 3 bases. I should be a little bit worried about an attack.
Or he's going to be like, are you trying to fake me out, sending just a single Marine up north? Polt will hopefully be getting an idea, getting a handle on exactly what Tefel is doing. Actually meets a Ling in the north, so he will continue on down. But yeah, Tefel certainly throwing him a bit of a curveball, not necessarily a huge deal. And like you said, when Polt sees, hey, there's no fourth base, he has to wonder, you know, is it somewhere else on the map, or do I need to be really worried about some sort of big attack? Muta is now going to be spotted in the middle of the map, a big stim forward from Polt, but of course not a solid engage for Tefel to take, at least not just yet. This, of course, does buy Polt some time. He knows it for sure it's going to be muted. There's the spread and the kiting back. Nice splits from Polt. Going to be able to try to deal with the banelings, but of course, overwhelming numbers don't care about splits.
Absolutely. Even off creep, Tefel just surges forwards, but Polt back at home. He's good enough to at least make Tefel's force not overwhelming numbers, and he takes down that bunker, but really doesn't get much else. Big Widowmine shot helped Polt out a lot there. Trades a few links to try and save that Overseer, and it does get away as speed kicks in.
2-2 all finished up for Tefel, but it's about to be matched by Polt as they finish up there, and of course he just gets armor plating for his vehicles as well. Hellbats being mixed in, of course he's going to be using those to most likely absorb those Baneling hits. More mines getting dropped onto the front lines, and anytime you see mines, you have to think of brilliant Baneling hits, but also then those games where players will use sacrificial units to kind of magnet the mine into friendly units. And here's the march, the start of 3-3 for Polt. All things are tied up, but that is the next timer that Tefel has to be worried about.
Yeah, when that hits, Polt's control, Polt's already produced control, is just going to give him more and more results. Better and better scaling, and his units just become more powerful in like every respect.
Oh, in the south, the mutas.
Yeah, they're moving in towards the main base, but the missile turrets are going to drive them away for now. And a couple of Thors have been started with Polt as well. And, oh no, he flies over, what am I? Nope, okay, he spotted it. Takes it out, no problem. Easy peasy.
He remembered losing 10 lings to that earlier in the game, which, again, those 10 lings probably wouldn't have like done a ton of damage, but certainly losing them in one fell swoop to that Widowmine. Not nice. Another Widowmine hit is solid enough. Not necessarily like super crazy like Baneling Widowmine hits, but like reasonable Widowmine hits. Thor's on the front lines, but of course Marines and Marauders are going to be trying to split back behind that. Not a lot of bio out on the front lines here, and actually those Baneling connections were all right. The follow-up Baneling loss is definitely not all right.
Yeah, not so much. A little bit painful there, but Tefel started Infestation Pit just now, looking towards Hive when he can find some breathing space, but Polt doesn't want to give him that at all. And a few links don't even get to trigger any Widow Mines. Polt just tears them down, and probably thought that's going to soften up those mutas as well. This is not looking too hot for Tefel's fourth base their survival prospects there, but it looks like he's going to move forwards, just a few banelings stepping forwards. Doesn't want to get so many that he triggers the Widow Mines, but it looks like they've actually all been taken out. And now the Mutas and Lings and Banes can try and clear the rest of this up, but it doesn't look like there's quite enough here. And as the last Muta falls from the sky, there's just a handful of Lings on the ground that can't even really break through the medevac even. GG. Polt, with the 2-1 score, is going to advance forwards in first place out of Group A. And yeah, we'll see him again at the round of 16.
Thanks for watching the video. Please subscribe to support the ASL by hitting the button now.